Points in the previous outing. Really a surprising leader that stepped up for Syracuse. He looked to get it going tonight, but quickly, early on, Austin Freeman hits the three zip Georgetown. Then Jason Clark with a three. And it started to look like a carbon copy of the 4 losses where the opponents came out shooting lights out. Julian Vaughn taking by Keita down low. It's 8-3 Georgetown, not even 3 minutes into the game. Then Brandon Trish making a difference. 8-5.
Joseph, SU need a run. Starts it off in the first minute with the right hand from the left side and one. West Virginia's lead only 3. Ensuing possession, Brandon Trish drives into the lane. Again, what a ball game for Brandon Trish. Made the free throw with the foul. West Virginia only up 1. By Musakeda, see ya, son. Gets the block. He's going to get the ball again with the hustle on the other end, but unselfish, kicks it out. Chris Joseph, Scoop Jardine, drains the 3. All 5 Orange players touch the ball in that possession. Scoop Jardine can't get it to go, but Rick Jackson, the only senior on SU, with the rebound and the put.
After the goal by David Lau, Scott Austin picks up from Rob Pennell. This made it 46 straight games for Rob Pennell that he had a point. That ties an NCAA record. Austin had 2 goals in the game. That made it 2-0. Another Cornell goal makes it 3-0. That's when Jeremy Thompson finds the back of the net off this feed from Josh Amidon, putting Syracuse on the board with just under 7 to go. That makes it 3-1. But Cornell was always there to respond.
Trish, he had that big free there to get him up by 4, and then another Trish jumper. The first 7 points of the second half scored by Brandon Trish. Syracuse pushes out its lead 34-29. Trish again too strong. The offensive rebound. Keita, what a game he had. 11 rebounds survived Keita, along with 6 steals and 4 points. Connecticut though would rally back on a long 3. Getting close there. Syracuse 30.
Seton Hall, Jeremy Hazel coming back from the wrist surgery. Seton Hall 1-3 with him in the lineup. But Hazel provided a much-needed spark for the Pirates tonight, hitting the opening 3. Seton Hall up a quick 3-0. Down low, Rick Jackson going to work. Jackson had a solid game, but he was just not helped by his teammates that much. Then Jeremy Hazel again from downtown, making it 10-2. You know what?
It wasn't a huge problem because Fab Mello, well, he's a little bit taller than everyone else. The 7-footer with the and one. Syracuse out to a 3-0 lead. But that's get erased by Scott Wood from deep. Get used to that picture. You're going to be seeing a lot of that 3-3 tie. Later on, Jardine, that's hot. He gets his own three-pointer in there. 12-8 the score. SU leads. 10 minutes to go in the first half. Ryan Harrow, another 3 for NC State. And finally, they're playing against a team.
It did look pretty good early on. Duke was going to get their opportunities, and they did, but Syracuse was able to do a lot of what they did in the first half early on. Jovan Miller makes it 10-3 there. A little bit later, Stephen Keogh would score. He's a clutch guy, but he'd be scoring in the third quarter today. I believe they call that around the world. I'm not too sure. Perhaps you should ask Cody Jamieson. A little bit later, John Galloway, for the 3rd time in these highlights, he'll make another save, still 11-4, and make another save right there. Consecutive saves. He would actually throw that ball away. But aside from that, Stephen Keogh keeping SU in this one, keeping Duke from getting back in the game. It would be 12-6 after that goal.
Another solid game for Chris Joseph there. He makes a layup and 1. But later on in the half, Nate Lubick, Nate Lubick going into the middle of the zone, dunking it. Georgetown down within 1. Then Hollis Thompson with another 3. He had 11 points, 55-54, and then Georgetown just takes over, guys. And this collapse in the last 3 minutes, Josh, it was not indicative of what Syracuse could play like.
No, it wasn't at all. They just fell apart in every aspect of the game. Very ugly.
Chris Wright with a tremendous block. Then Dion Waiters with 30 seconds left. A meaningless 3 goes off.
And had a sizable lead, up by as many as 6 with less than 10 minutes to go in the game.
And it wasn't just Wood, too. C.J. Leslie having a very fine game. He had 13 points. The Wolfpack were giving SU fits on the defensive end all night long, keeping them a little uncomfortable, and that led to SU having to make a late rally.
But if there's one thing we've learned about Syracuse, it's that they can pull it out in the end. Let's hear from Dion Waiters after the Orange moves to 8-0.
Down low, a nice pass on the inside, but then a pretty key moment in the game. Keita loses it, and the scoop, and that goes in. This would be a key point in this game, Johnny.
Yeah, Bimusa Keita really did well. I mean, granted that shot was lucky, but on the glass, 11 boards, he really stepped up to be that other big guy for Syracuse.
Syracuse never trailed in the second half. A big reason because, well, they just kept answering back whenever UConn would score. The Orange able to get it.
51-38 Nova. And then Isaiah Armwood The dunk from Malik Waynes, 13:20 left, and Villanova up by 12. But then the Orange come right back. Rick Jackson. We didn't see much of him in this game, guys. We should have seen a little more of him. He was so effective.
Yeah, Rick Jackson really one of the biggest weapons for Syracuse, and he didn't do much. He had a decent amount of points, but his impact wasn't felt.
And the Wildcat guards played so effective.
But it was an unlikely culprit to break the ice. Bobby Eilers ties it for SU. He only had one goal on the season coming into this game. But after that, Chris, it took a while to kind of break through Friars goalie Jake Gittleman.
Yeah, Gittleman was good to begin the game. He was really out there in the cage, but once his defense started to break, that's when he started to fall apart.
His defense ignited the offense as Evan Helda pockets one with 8 1/4 left to put Providence back on top. But hey, Johns Hopkins transfer Tommy Palisic says, son, I don't wear blue no more. Bangs one home, Palisic's 8th goal of the year. Very, very creative there. But Ryan, most of this half was really kind of a back and forth battle.
Well, kind of a shocking start for Providence. They had never held a first quarter lead over Syracuse, and they were able to do that in this game. And Syracuse usually starts out fast, and that's what they should have done against Providence, and that's not what happened.
Not the last couple games.
Sean Wright with a goal there, and then if you don't know, now you know who Bobby Eilers is. This is his 2nd goal. He would have a hat trick. And then
Everything and more for Syracuse early on, Dave.
He was sensational. He was making the tough shots. Duke had a couple of shots that weren't that great, but John Galloway was still stopping those. He had a record-breaking day. We'll get more on that later.
And even if he was struggling, the SU offense just flying in the first half. That goal from Bobby Eilers, that's the first of his career, would make it 6-1. And a little bit later, JoJo Marasco, this would be his 2nd goal of the day, 8-1 SU at that point. And again, John Galloway, just a sensational first half. You'll see him on the man up right here. Justin Curry would take the shot eventually. Right there, right on the doorstep. They say in lacrosse, if it's one-on-one, the win. Syracuse looking for its 5th straight victory. Rick Jackson being honored on senior day. DePaul's Chris Faber with the deuce, 2-0 DePaul, and that'll be about it for the Blue Demons because Scoop Jardine and Rick Jackson would put on a show. A 3-pointer here for Scoop, 3-2 SU, and the blowout was on. A little later, Rick Jackson, down low, the senior, puts that one up and in, 13-6 Orange. He finished with a team-high 14 points. A few minutes later, a nice give and go here. CJ Fair to Rick Jackson, back to Mr. Fair, 21-8 Q's. CJ Fair, a nice addition coming off the field.
West Virginia, a Valentine's Day matchup in the Dome. First minute of the game, Darryl Bryant with the 3-pointer, 4-3 West Virginia. 14:24 to go now in the first half. Casey Mitchell, a rare miss on the 3. Scoop Jardine to Brandon Trish. Right back to you, buddy. 7-5 West Virginia. 13:41 to go in the first half. Chris Joseph, Air Canada, shooter's touch for 3. 8-7 SU with the 1-point lead. And Trish with the transition steal gives it to Scoop. An unselfish play tonight from SU. Scoop finds a wide open Chris Joseph. 10-7 SU. Then now Casey Mitchell, you'll get used to this tonight. Here's a 3-pointer from the left corner. Kaboom. Got it. 14 all.
Trophy. And in this one, SU getting fired up, seeing if they could win for the 5th time in the row. And early on, with a minute into the game, Josh Amidon rips it outside from the outside. Syracuse takes the 1-0 lead. But later on here, Hobart gets back into it here. Sam Miller gets it from Chris Peterson. Clips it in behind John Galloway for the goal, 1-1 Syracuse. Later on, though, JoJo Marasco is going to dish it over to Stephen Keogh for the goal. Syracuse taking control of this one early on, 2-1.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked there about Sam Miller. John Lay did a great job coming back in this game and shutting down Hobart's leading scorer.
It's one of the reasons that Syracuse dominated in this one appeared to be the man-up opportunity. Tommy Powell.
Arenze Onawaku going down. No such injuries for the Orange in this game. A little spoiler for you. 4 versus 5 matchup of St. John's versus Syracuse. And it starts out early for Brandon Trish, hitting the 3 from the corner to go up 5-2. And then the Orange in transition, they jumped out to a 14-5 lead early on in this game. That was Chris Joseph, and a lot of that early lead from Fab Mello, the freshman, a career-high 22 minutes in this game. He gets the easy dunk there from Rick Jackson. Then Deion Waiter's going to miss the short runner. Rick with the rebound and the follow. Again, they jumped out to a 14-5 lead, but cue the St. John's run. Paris Horn with the 3-pointer, pulls it within 3. DJ Kennedy did get hurt earlier in the half. A big loss for St. John's would come back to hurt them a little later on.
Left.
Then scoop to Rick Jackson. The Philly boys. Alley-oop. 67-35 SU, 15-33 remaining. And then Chris Joseph a 3 here. The Orange gentlemen so dominant, especially in their shooting.
Syracuse had the best shooting night I can remember for this team, even going back to the days of Andy and Wes Johnson.
71% from the floor. It's hard to lose when you shoot that well, and especially from 3. 77%, 7-9.
The Orange being aggressive on defense. A nice steal there for Chris Joseph and the dunk. And then it's so nice to see guys that don't normally get to play come in, be productive. Mookie Jones with the 3 there, 90.
Pete Coleman with the long-range goal from 15 yards out.
Yeah, Pete Coleman lost his spot in the second line midfield, but earned a spot in the man up, and he scored in back-to-back games, looking good for SU.
And then it became the Jeremy Thompson show. Crunchitize me, Captain, with the goal. 9-4 Syracuse. 9 goals scored by 8 different players in this one.
The balance for Syracuse was fantastic. Usually you think about this team, you think of individual players. This time they played as a whole team.
Jeremy Thompson, though, with his second straight goal in this one, 10